Well, I'm just going to assume we're live because it said we're live. If we're not, and we're not quite live on Facebook yet, but looks like we're just going to wait 1 second. I felt very uncomfortable in the uncomfortable silence there for a second. As a salesperson, I should know that, uncomfortable silence is a good thing. We use that to close, but this isn't a sales thing. This is about giving people good information. So with that in mind, it looks like we're recording. I don't know if we're live on Facebook or not, but we're going with it. So with that in mind, welcome Facebook. Oh, there we go. It just popped up online. So welcome LabCoatAgents to another episode with StreetText, and StreetText is one of our favorite products that we use. I use it personally. I know so many people that use it. It's a great product. And today we're going to talk about sellers, because I don't think I've met anybody throughout the country, and I talk to people every day, and I'm sure you guys do, that said, no, I've got enough sellers. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how we can set this up and how we can use StreetText to help you get some more sellers and build up your pipeline. So when things open up a little bit, that you'll be most successful. So I'm just going to pass it over to, I don't know if Ira or Troy, you guys want to go first, but just we're going to talk about a little bit of setup and how we can do this and how easy it is to use StreetText to generate some of those seller leads.
Yeah, for sure. So, has anybody ever used a Facebook Ads Manager on Facebook? Yeah, we laugh. I'm like, your Keurig is really good for more than just water. If you're going to use the Facebook Ads Manager, you should just put some Baileys or some hard liquor in there and pour it into that and boil your cup of coffee and sit down at the computer and try to run the Facebook Ads Manager. So a lot of people ask us what we do, and we basically make running ads simple on Facebook. We take all that legwork out. We keep you out of that labyrinth of frustration and confusion called the Facebook Ads Manager, so that you can simply and effectively launch ads. And we typically have people coming to us specifically for sellers, because they hear through the grapevine that, our sellers ads do really well. Our sellers ads, and they've had a hard time landing on good Facebook ads for sellers. They might have landed well on buyers on occasion, which we have that too. And a lot of people are using that, but a lot of people do come. Someone just said they're from Aurora, Ontario. That's where I grew up. Sorry, I'm distracted. Fly. It's all about personal relationship. So let's just kind of quickly take you through like what it looks like, so you can see what a seller's ad looks like and how you would set it up. They're all built
real quick, just because I know we kind of made fun of Facebook Ad Manager there, but realistically, you're probably pretty skilled in it. You understand how it works, right? Even you, as someone who's skilled in it, and this is just perspective, how long would it take you, as someone who's talented, a tech guy, to run a seller ad if you did it through Facebook Ad Manager? You, not me or anybody else watching.
So here's the thing. Many years ago, I spent a lot of money, $3,000 in particular, to learn how to use the Facebook Ads Manager. That course was obsolete within 3 months. Like everything that I learned to do in that, what buttons to click, within 3 months, it wasn't working anymore. And I do a couple extra things on the side besides StreetText. So I've gone into the Facebook Ads Manager and launched my own ads. And I keep saying to our dev team, like, could we make this available for other small industries and side things? Because it's just difficult and it's constantly changing. And one of the advantages is we're a collective community. So as a collective community, when things go wrong on Facebook, you're not stuck scratching your head. We get to say, like, this is something that's happening. This is normal. What you're experiencing. You just need to click this review button. The Facebook robots will then get a human on it, and your ad will get approved and pushed through. I had somebody that was like, my ad got disapproved for selling alcohol to minors. And they're like, is it because there's a picture of a bar in the background of the ad? So here they are, like, changing the picture out. I'm like, no, your ad's perfectly good. It's just the robots are drunk. You just need to relaunch it and have a human look at it, or just hit the review button. So things like that, when you get stuck and you basically waste the most valuable thing you have, which is time. We say that time should be spent following up with leads, not generating ads that get you leads. So we want to save you that time to be able to launch effective ad campaigns and be able to know when you've launched something good, so then you can move over to follow up, which is where our businesses are made and lost.
Awesome. Well, I just wanted to bring that out there because personally, I ran an ad one time on Facebook Ad Manager. I learned it, went through that whole thing, and came back 3 weeks later and couldn't do it again because that's how complex it and how frustrating it is. So, but anyway,
Sure.
I just thought it was so good, something to set up to get people to understand, if you want to do this, yes, you can do it yourself. And as long as you have an extra 6, 7, 8 hours a day, it should be no problem.
Yeah, we all have all those hours, right? Every day.
Anyway,
Yeah.
100%. I mean, it's a common. I mean, it's a common story though that we do get. Like, we show, and Ira will show here very quickly, with a few clicks of a button, you have an ad launched, complete with the landing page and everything else that comes with the funnel. But somebody goes out there and does it on their own. They're like, oh my gosh, it took me like 2 hours just to do that, and then it gets disapproved. And you don't know why. And you're sitting there scratching your head, and you start all over again and you go, okay, maybe it's a different image, maybe it's different copy. I'm not even sure. Why waste that time? It's about taking, you guys, the average agent doesn't have time to sit down and be a marketing agency, right? It's you want to spend time building relationships with your clientele and selling homes. I mean, that's what you're there for, not to be a marketer at the end of the day. So,
exactly,
that's what this is here for.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of like your funnels are all here. The reason it's called a funnel is because you're launching the ad, but you're also launching all of the automated communications that are connected to the ad. So you're not having to build in your own landing pages. Even we're talking about, you're not even having to make up for that new iOS update that's coming, because it's all going to be built in automatically here. So that when you launch the ad, you're not only launching an ad, you're launching the entire funnel. So as you go through and you select the ad to launch it, it's building everything else for you. So these are all the funnels that are available. We have our seller's template, this typical map ad, and the other what's your home really worth ad, where you use something that's really local to people that catches their attention in their scroll. I mean, that's what you're trying to do, is catch people's attention. How do you do that? By making an ad that doesn't look like an ad, by making an ad that looks like it's relevant to me and my local geography. So when someone actually clicks on the ad, they're going to be brought through a series of landing pages that'll collect their information. But we basically teach you how to use this template to set up a split test, because audiences are everything with Facebook. And it's very different than people's normal audience split test. People are so used to doing a split test that's like testing your creative. Here, the creative's already done. We know the templates work. We know that they're getting traction. We have the stats all across North America. So we teach you how to launch it, but also account for the fact that you should really be setting up 3 ads with this template and accounting for the audiences that are seeing those ads, which Facebook is choosing. And within 24 hours of launching this ad, our coaches here kind of teach you how to zero in on the ad that got you the best engagement. And at that point, it's as simple as turning off the other 2 ads, running with the ad that got you the best engagement, and moving through to the follow-up process. So I don't know if we want to walk them through the funnel. What do you want to do next?
So I think that'd be a great idea to walk somebody through a funnel. I appreciate, I love the comparison that you guys are doing. And I think that's big. Like, so sometimes people run ads and they're like, well, this is a great ad. Well, how do you know it's a great ad? Well, because I ran 2 other ads that were similar, and this one had that CPL was half, or the impressions were double, or whatever the metric is that's important to you. And I love how easy it is to look at that and go, oh, this and this and this and this. So, maybe we can talk through that, and what's the next thing. We talked about seller ads, and one of the things I would also like you guys to talk about is where people are realistically in the funnel. So I think a lot of times people buy a new product or get a new product and they go, well, I didn't have any ROI in the first 15 days. This is garbage. Well, great. And if you can tell me something I can get instant ROI on, I'll buy it too. But I think it's important to get people in that right mindset to understand what it's going to take to convert a Facebook lead. You guys got to remember this, people who are watching, and it's going to vary from market to market, but I buy seller Facebook leads for less than $10. So understanding what that looks like, that is not, oh, I bought 100 of them and I got 20 closings in the next 30 days. Still, the ROI is still great, but it's not snap my fingers and get instantaneous. I think that's important for people to understand as they're looking at your product.
Sure. Yeah, that's like one of the biggest things, is that we are dealing primarily here with Facebook leads, right? We're generating leads with an ad that is being served from your business page. Now, that's a unique thing when you're doing ads from your business page, because those leads are now unique to you, right? They click on your ad, they're leaving their information. That information's not being, shared to a whole bunch of other agents. So you're not, the 100th agent phoning this person up, finding out that, oh my gosh, now you're going to get that, the phone slammed down, right? But they're also on Facebook. And what is everybody doing on Facebook, right? They're just scrolling away and they see your ad. And in this case, the one that Ira was kind of showing theirs is, if somebody wanted to buy your home, would you sell it? Find out its value in the market. Well, sure. Yeah, I would love to know the value of my home. So they click on it and they're going to go through and leave their information. Now, in that moment, are they necessarily ready to sell their house? They're in our system, they can put in, and Ira could even show us, the step-by-step process of leaving their information. They might say that they're ready immediately, but that's just a defense mechanism, or they're just curious, or wherever they're at in that. Who knows? They're a top of funnel lead, meaning that they're not pre-qualified. Nobody's qualified these people and, hey, do you have, whatever XYZ, and are you ready to sell now? And okay, I'll connect you with somebody. I mean, those are going to be very expensive to generate, right? But here with top of funnel is you get early access to these leads. Even in the moment that they might have an inkling of a thought that they might want to sell, you are now in front of them. But what is the major key now is how are you going to build that relationship so that when they actually are ready to sell, they're going to sell with you.
Perfect.
Right?
So Troy, let's talk about that real quick. You guys suggest that you call those leads. Let's assume they leave a phone number. Do you suggest we call them?
100%.
Okay,
right?
so let's call them, and what am I going to say to that person? It's not, when are you going to sell your house? So, because again, and this is my version of what Troy said. Nobody woke up and looked at their significant other and said, I want to buy or sell a house. What should we do? Let's log on to Facebook. That conversation's never happened. So what is happening, and how should we handle that person to make sure that we just bought this lead, if you will, we got them into our funnel, and let's not piss them off in the first 30 seconds that they're in our funnel. So what does that conversation look like, assuming, because we're going to get probably 30 to 40% initially phone numbers, and then there's ways to append data to get more. But once I have that person, and let's say they answer the phone, what do you guys suggest that I say?
You got to look at the motivation behind the click. They clicked because they wanted their home value. Why did they want their home value? You don't know, but they know. So it's really about, like, I need to start a conversation with them to figure out why they wanted it so I can serve them really well. So sometimes it's just as simple as, if you pick up the phone and you sense the person is extremely standoffish, they don't want to talk to you, don't push the conversation. Don't make them feel uncomfortable. Just say something quick like, hey, I usually just wanted to give you a call. You left a number, so I figured there might be something more urgent. There might not be, but I just want to confirm your email. I'm going to send an evaluation range to your email. I just want to make sure you were going to get it. These things sometimes land in junk folders. Say their email quickly. They go, that's it. Great. Thanks. Hope you're having an awesome day. That should be coming to you shortly. Don't push it.
That's great.
Fine. Yeah.
So, Troy, do you have any other scripts? I've got one. I'd be happy to share if you guys don't.
I mean, scripts, I suggest always just be casual, right? Ira and I talk about this. A lot of people go in and they want to close people right away. And it's not about closing people. It's about opening people to the possibilities. And if it's just a home valuation, that's going to open up to a possibility. So if you're there to serve them, and if you want to strike up a conversation, ask questions, just curious, tell me what you love most about your home.
Love that.
That you feel would affect its value. I'd love to learn, or vice versa. What don't you like? If you're looking to sell, you might not like something. I would love to know. That's an interesting thing, right? There's, Ira and I were talking about this before. My home, I'm actually right now, there's a home inspector at my home because our home is getting ready to sell, but that whole process started well over a year ago. Ira knows more of the story, and it was an inkling of an idea to execute on a dream that my wife and I had a year ago. We're thinking about this. Were we ready to sell yet? No. It took us an entire year to finally go, okay, we're going to pull the trigger. We're going to do this thing. But a year ago, if I'd seen an ad that and I'm thinking about this, and, if somebody wanted to buy your home, would you sell it? Like, yeah, we're actually thinking about this. Oh, I'd love to know what my home is worth, because if we're going to be moving on, I need to know how much equity I'm going to be able to take with me. That's great information to find out. Now, if an agent called me and was trying to close me that day, trying to get me to sell my home, I would be heading for the hills. Like, it would be a very quick call. However, if you provide me with that value, if you start striking up that relationship, start building that, let me kind of have my space. Well, I'm going to be considering you, be like, oh, hey, he wasn't like right there. He gave me what I was looking for. Maybe over the course of the year, he's checked in, be like, hey, you know what? This year has been totally crazy. I just wanted to give you an updated home value because prices have increased. Did you know that? Oh my gosh, no, I didn't. What's it worth now? Right. So all of these little things, and you're going to remember those, even if you have a really great, I might not be ready to list my home right now, but if I have a really great, rapport with you, Brian, you call me up and we have a great conversation and you give me what I was looking for and I find it valuable. And my buddy asked me, hey, you know what? I was thinking about selling my home. Do you know any agents? Well, you know what? I've been talking to this great guy, Brian. You should maybe check him out. Right? Boom. Now there's a referral that, wasn't that direct lead. Right? So you never know where those things go.
One of the scripts that we've used, and I'm not a huge script guy. I like intro scripts because it makes people sound like there's nothing worse than calling somebody, go, is this Troy? Because the first thing I know, if I get that question, is somebody's going to try and sell me something. So that's one of my tips as a sales coach. Do not ask if it's so-and-so. If it's wrong, eventually they'll tell you, no, this is Ira. Okay. But one of the questions that we love to ask is, guys, we're putting together a home valuation for you. We want it to be as accurate as possible. Would you mind rating your house on a scale of 1 to 10? In that question, remember that elicits this. They want to talk about themselves. No one wants to talk about you. They want to talk about themselves. So, oh, my house is a 7. Perfect. Out of curiosity, what makes it a 7? What kind of upgrades have you done? All I'm doing is getting them to talk about their stuff. And, how to win friends and influence people. Ask a bunch of questions, shut up and let them, and they'll think you're a great conversationalist. So, it's all about getting people to open up. And oddly enough, and I think you guys could probably attest to this, even though they gave you name, phone number, and email address, are they expecting you to call them?
Never.
They're not. So just keep that in mind. You make it conversational, build rapport. Troy, I love that. That's sales 101. And it's not any different with your product than it is with anything else out there. Understanding who you're talking to, instead of coming across as a salesperson, come across as someone who's giving them what they want. To Troy's comment, what do we want? We want a home valuation. We don't want to be sold. We want a home valuation. So give them that.
I just thought, what do we want? Home valuation. When do we want it? Now. we don't want, like we talked about, like, even if you're going to do a mailer to an address only, there's a lot of value if you send them a range of values and handwrite the front of it. I personally, in my neighborhood, received 15 mailers from real estate agents in the last month and a half. Yesterday, I had a door knocker. A real estate agent knocked on my door to talk to me. Who do you think I'm remembering? I'm remembering the guy that had the gumption to come and knock on my door. Funny enough, I started talking to him and he's like, hey, we use StreetText. He's like, our office has been handing me these leads that are just addresses. Like, where are they coming from? And what's the best way to follow up with them? And I said, the fact that you're asking that question shows me a ton that you actually care. Like, where did this address come from? How do I follow up with them? They submitted it on a Facebook form. You follow up on them by standing out from everyone else. Like I said, I got 15 mailers in my mailbox. You now have an address of somebody who actually raised their hand on an ad that said, I want to know my home value. How do you stand out from the 15 that are in my mailbox? Well, handwrite that card. Even one of our users, Dave, is using stamps, like Game of Thrones stamps. Like, he went and got like a wax kit, and he's actually putting a little wax stamp on the back of his envelopes. And he says it's exploded his open rate on those address only. People just messaging him saying, that was the coolest thing ever, just to get it. So how do you stand out is my question. Like, how do you deliver value to people and stand out from the 15 things that are landing in my mailbox this month and a half?
And here's an interesting thing that I've noticed. I don't have actual statistics on this. the less information people give you, the more likely they seem to be wanting to sell. And I don't know that as a fact. That's just been, that's parenthetical information. It's not facts. But I love that that guy showed up at your house. A friend of mine bought pizza boxes, just boxes, and put CMAs in there. And on the front of the pizza box, it's call me to get a free pizza. And then the CMA was in the box. So people call them and get a free pizza. You know, it's just being different. If we, you know, there's lots of stuff. And if you do anything over and over and over with consistency, you'll get results. But why not be a little bit different? And I love some of that stuff that you're bringing up. So why don't we go into a little bit further of what we're going to do next? So, you know, obviously we're going to try and call people. If you have address onlys, theoretically, we're going to show up and knock on their door. And, you know, some people are not doing that right now because of COVID. So what are the other things that we should be doing as a StreetText user to make sure that we're staying in front of these people and understanding the average internet lead takes how many contacts to get a hold of? 8, right? The average. So what are we going to do next? And I'd love to hear some of the other things you guys are coaching people to do.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the things that we'll do is just kind of take you what happens when someone clicks on the ad, how you end up getting partial information. And some people get sidetracked on that. They're like, I didn't get a number. This lead's not valuable to me. So they don't find creative ways to reach out at each level. So like on the landing page, instead of asking for everything up front, it's like going on a date and asking the person like, so when do you want to get married? Where do you want to get married? How many kids do you want to have? Like, we're just asking for everything right out of the gate. How about you just start with something simple? Hey, analyze my property. They click this, they put their address in. So they're going to stick an address in here for them. And as they do that, it auto populates, they can pick it and they click analyze my property. That's how you end up with an address only lead. And people are very aware, they're not stupid. If they put their email address here, they know they're going on some sort of drip. So sometimes people are like, I was interested in my home value, but I'm not putting my email in there because I don't want to get, I even had people say, I saw your ad and then I went to Google and I Googled it because I didn't want to click it on my Facebook because I didn't want it to keep haunting on me. So like people are aware of the stats behind all this stuff sometimes. So they don't put their email address in. And that's what we just talked about, address onlys. So now the next step is, what if they do decide to put their email address in? They click and they go next. You know, we say you're digitally door knocking on someone's door. So what do you want those first email communications to look like? And if you're just sending out something generic, our system has something set up, but we encourage all of our users to put your personality on it. Think of it like this. That guy knocked on my door. What if he just stuck a business card in and then ran? Like, that would be the equivalent of just an automated email. But in our case, it's digitally door knocking. So why don't you use, like in our group here, in our insider group, we have all these examples of videos. And even Wendy went as far as to make a video that was seasonal. So it didn't look like it was cookie cutter. It didn't look like she did it 3 years ago and her hairstyle is completely different now. She did it like right in that season. So her first emails that were going out during Christmas had her introducing herself in a little video using a service like BombBomb, like different and creative ways to kind of reach out to people that stand out from just those regular automated emails in your inbox.
Absolutely. And you know, BombBomb, and we're not here to sell a whole bunch of products. That's not our purpose behind this. But video is real, guys. And you know, parasocial marketing is what that's called. Basically, she has an opportunity to express her personality to those people without even meeting them. And let's face it, some of those people aren't going to like her. But guess what? The people who like her are easier to deal with. And so, you know, keep that in mind. Everyone is afraid of doing video. Video is 2021. If you're afraid of doing video, get over it or get out. That's the only thing I can tell people when it comes to this. If you want to be successful in 2021, video. And they don't have to be professional, right? So you guys look at people's videos all day long. Are we seeing super professional, you know, paying thousands of dollars, or are you seeing someone holding an iPhone in front of their face? What realistically are people doing with that?
Oh, raw and relatable is like what's going to get you there, because that's going to show your personality, like by far. Now, of course, you know, you want it to look good. So make sure you have good lighting and, you know, and don't do things like this where you're like, you know, down in the corner here, like, hey guys, how's it going? You know, I've seen some like pretty bad stuff, but do you have to have the perfect words You know, if you stumble across them, you say a lot of ums or so's or whatever, right? This isn't like like public speaking in front of everybody. This is about building that relationship. And if you stumble over your words, you know, send it. I've even done it. I can attest to it so many times. I've actually sent out some videos that I probably shouldn't have. But you know, it's like you make a mistake, you could go back and re-record it and end up re-recording and re-recording and re-recording, or you can just be like, you know what, good enough, send it out. They see that you saw a mistake. You're a real person. You're not perfect. It's not, you know, Hollywood, you know, action film. You know, some people are worried about that. And I'm like, you know, they're even worried, oh, are they going to play this video? I'm like, does it matter? It's not a blockbuster, right? If you think it's a blockbuster, well, then you're in the wrong career, you know. But just go with it. Like we've even had, you know, let's say your son walks in on the door in the middle of your video. Great, they see that you have kids. Again, it's raw and relatable. It, you know, so as long as they see your personality, as long as they see that you are genuine, right? It's about your body language. You know, if you've got an intro video that says, hey, you know, hey, this is Troy from Remax Kelowna. I just want to let you know that I've received your request for home valuation. Looking forward to learning more about you and your home. I just want to let you know that I'm working on it right now. So watch your inbox for when it comes in.
Yeah.
Done. Right.
And I think the human attention span right now is scientifically, studies have shown that it's less than a goldfish. Like we used to surpass the attention span of a goldfish. We are not there. We're below a goldfish now. I mean, it's hard to keep people's attention. So sometimes we try to like sell them on everything we do in that first message. It's about dripping on people, getting them a very short, bite-sized, impressionable video. So keep it short. Like a lot of our users, it's like a 17-second video where they're just like, hey, they're introducing themselves, personality. And like we said, these are seller leads coming in on Facebook. They didn't go on Google to search, how do I sell my home tomorrow? They were on Facebook. So you want those messages that are dripping on them to have an impression that's lasting across months, so that the next time they see your automated email come in, they're like, they remember who you are. You don't just become like one of those emails that are in my inbox that I don't even know how I subscribe to that list anymore. Like I recently re-engaged with one of those emails because it had engaging content, and I still don't know how I ended up on this person's list, but they did something in one of their emails that caught my attention, and I watched a video, and now I'm paying attention to every other email that's come after that. So it's really about, once you make that impression, you're talking about the drips that are going out. So in 4 months from now, you send me an email and say, hey, I just wanted to let you know that, you know, a couple homes have sold in your area, and these are kind of the prices they're selling at, and keep you up to date on that. I just didn't know if you're aware of that, but your market is, I have buyers looking in your market, so I thought I'd just let you know. Those quick little touch points, they're going to open it. They're going to look at it because you made an impression.
And here's something that I got this from, I think Marcus gave me this. Marcus is one of the coaches, one of the people who works at StreetText, and I think pretty sure he's the one who gave me this idea. We saw people trying to put like their brokerage or their team name on the front of that video. That is the 2 or 3 seconds that's going to keep you from getting your video watched. And I thought, hey, I brand, you know, let them know who I am. That's wrong. And so, and I know that I don't like to make those universal statements, but I'm going to make it there. And Marcus helped us with that. He said, look, don't try and brand yourself in the first 3 seconds of the video, because they didn't watch the next 17 seconds because they got bored the first 3 seconds. So whatever you do something that somebody's interested in. I've had one of the guys waving money, you know, like, well, that's interesting. What, how do I get money? You know, but be interesting, but don't be branding, because no one wants your branding. Again, they're not looking to find out about Remax or Keller Williams or whoever you're with. They want to know about you, and you are not your brand. At least you're not your brokerage brand. Let me say that.
Troy and I had this exact conversation this morning, and it had to do with the fact that somebody had said to me, you know, my ad, you told me to use this image, but the image isn't really pretty, and my brand is very colorful and it's very bright, and I want to make sure that my brand is shown through. And I said, nobody cares about your brand until you show them that you care about them and what they want. You're not looking for leads on Facebook that love your branding. You're looking for leads on Facebook that want to know the value of their home. So the image that you're using has nothing to do with your brand. It's an invitation to offer them something of great value. Now that I've met you and now that we start a conversation and there's value being passed back and forth, now you get to know my brand. So your brand doesn't pull people in. Your brand is what people recognize after you've given something of value to them, after you've exchanged something that's valuable to me. So a lot of us get stuck in that, like, I've built my brand, I got my logo. Nobody cares about your logo. Like, if your logo looks great, but it only matters to me when I've been in a relationship with you. Then I start to recognize it because, hey, that was the guy that did this for me. Hey, that was the guy that showed up my door and he knocked. And now I'm noticing his billboard on the side of the road. It's after we've had that first value exchange that your brand starts to become recognizable, but not in the capture of that lead.
Let's take it back to that a little bit, because we were talking, I mean, we're talking here in the follow-up and you know, that video and that stuff, but it also starts at the beginning with the ad, and we were just talking about the ad and the branding. So Ira, let's show everyone how you create an ad in StreetText so they get context of, okay, you know, we talked earlier about, you know, the labyrinth of confusion that is the ad manager. Okay, well, how is StreetText any different? So, and we'll speak to that and why these templates are actually crafted in the way that they are, because we do get this a lot. People are like, well, I don't like the way this ad looks. And we always to tell them, we're like, well, it doesn't, you have to like hang that up. It doesn't matter what you like in that moment. You have to go with what works, right? And if it works, you can't argue against that. So Ira, if you could bring that up, we'll walk through that sellers template, because we are talking about generating sellers in a low inventory market. But they would just simply come through and select one of these templates here. So if you could take us to this seller's property evaluation, perfect. So Ira's going to select this. And boom, what it pulls up here is a map, right? What we're going to do is we're going to kind of make this map more relevant to the market that you're in. So Ira would come in here and he'd put an address in that's central to where he wants to farm, keeping in mind that on Facebook, you can't target less than 15 miles, right? So we want to make it relevant to that 15 miles. So he's put in, you know, here's our area here. There's beautiful Kelowna in the center there. And you can see, and roughly like when he sets this image up, this is going to be roughly that 15 miles. But right away, you can see it's not just Kelowna. We've got Kelowna, we've got Lake Country, Vernon, all these other communities that are in there. So what I want to make sure is that I use my verbiage. If somebody wanted to buy your home, I wouldn't necessarily come in here and go, if somebody wanted to buy your Kelowna home. Because let's say I live up there in Vernon and that falls within that 15 miles, well, then it's not relevant to me. Be like, well, I live in Vernon. I don't have a Kelowna home. In fact, we have a little bit of rivalry with Vernon, right? So they're like, you know, those Kelowna people are a bunch of jerks, right? So, so we use these house emojis because that still is relevant for any community that's in there, right? So, and it does another thing. So one of the things that we use this map for is because it looks more like something we're familiar with, an image, a map. We look at these all the time. We use Google Maps. We use whatever other map service we have on our phone. We see an area that's familiar to us. It's going to end up stopping that scroll because it's like, oh, what is this that's talking about the area that I live in, right? It's not screaming, hey, I'm an ad. Right? We've gotten really good at like, I mean, how many ads do you see in your news feed? And it's like, well, you see it. It's like, well, that's an ad. I know that's an ad. I'm just going to pass on by. We want to stop that scroll, create something that's familiar. It looks more like a native post. And so, you know, we're now interested. Now we see the image, those little emojis, they do something. I see them in the peripheral. They pull your eyes up into that copy, and it's just a tasteful amount. It's not like Emoji City in here, you know, where we just throwing up emojis all over the place. But again, we're just trying to pique that interest. If somebody wanted to buy your home, would you sell it? Find out its value in the current market. So that's just as simple as setting up that imagery. We've got those emojis in there. We hit next. We can do the targeting in here. We always recommend dropping a pin Ira would just come in here, throw in Kelowna, same address he used previously. You can see there, that's the area it's going to target. He can move this around, change it, change even how far out it goes. If he's like, well, hey, I'm good with more than 15 miles. I can work 20 miles. That's all okay, right? So he hits done, sets those coordinates. He's going to hit next. Finally here, he's going to set his budget per day for the ad. And he can choose to launch it to Instagram as well. So I think somebody asked in the channel or in the chat there if you can do that. Yep, you can. Then he can do something that's not easy to do on a regular basis, which is run a split test. And a split test is a very important thing. And we can talk about that. But basically, what a split test consists of is launching 3 ads that are identical to each other, except for one thing, and being the audience. We're really ultimately testing an audience when we're running any ads on Facebook. But in order to do a split test, if you wanted to, in the ad manager, you would actually have to go through and create that ad 3 times yourself manually. The click of a button here, you can create those 3 ads.
Good
and
luck.
hit deploy, right? So again, super fast, super easy. But it brings it back again. It's not screaming your brand, right? This doesn't have Brian Curtis's brand all over it, and people are going to ignore that. They're going, oh, there's a map. Oh, hey, they're asking, yeah, I'd like to know what my home is worth. Great. Click on it. I'll leave my info. Boom. Now I get an automated email from Brian that says, hey, just got your request. He's got a video in there. You see that he's a real person. You know, some people have even on our mastermind today was Dave Thomas was
We were all laughing at the guys.
We're all laughing at the guys, but I'm gonna get in trouble for that from all the Bruno people. But you know, you have your video in there, and you can be like, hey, you know what? This is not automated. I'm automated. I'm a real person. You know, in fact, I live here locally. Dave Thomas shared this. He's like this morning. He's like, I live here locally, so you may even see him bump into me at the grocery store. So please be nice. You know, wow, it's a real person. So.
And it's great. And I loved how easy, I love the point that you made. If you're going to split test something, you would literally have to go through that process 3 times. And by the way, that process that Troy and Ira just went through on Facebook Ad Manager probably takes, for someone who's good, probably takes 15 to 20 minutes. For someone who doesn't know what they're good doing, God only knows how long.
And it's very different than the split test button on Facebook. It doesn't set it up the same. So if you're using Facebook's split test button, that's designed for something completely different than this split test button is designed for.
Yeah. And so let's just talk about that. If I do the split test realistically, and this is going to take some effort, not everything is just plug and play. You're going to have to pay attention. But when should I check it? In other words, so I do a split test, I run 3 ads. When should I check it? And what am I looking for in that split test? Because I think that's important for people to, great, I split test. What the heck does that mean? So I just real quick.
Let's take it to that. With the what is a split test and what does it mean, right? So when we talk about split test, something that's familiar to people is an A/B test, right? So they've heard of an A/B test, and you're testing image A versus image B, or copy A versus copy B, and which is going to get better performance, right? Well, in StreetText, we've templated all these ads. We've already done that. We've tested copy, we've tested imagery, we've tested all these things, and we like to break it down that there's basically 5 variables on an ad. One of them being, what does the ad look like, right? So it's image. What does the ad say, the copy? Where's the ad running? So where are you going to target it? And what is the ad's budget? The 5th variable is the audience for the ad. Now, Facebook, we're in charge of those other 4. Facebook is in charge of that last one. Now they're using their algorithm, and I will say that they do a pretty darn good job of finding roughly the right people, but they don't always get it perfectly correct. So each and every single time you launch an ad, what a lot of people don't know is that Facebook goes, okay, here's your ad. We're going to reach into that targeted area, and with our algorithm, we're going to select a random sampling of people that we think are going to convert on your ad. Boom, ad A gets this audience. Ad B, they go and do the whole thing over again. So now 2 ads running, they look identical to each other in all those 4 variables, except they're getting a slightly different audience. Now, did Facebook get the audience right on ad A? I don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run those ads. I'm going to let them run for a 24-hour period. In 24-hour, we get roughly all the most accurate data from Facebook. We then you jump into the StreetText dashboard. We pull out those ad metrics for you so you can look very easily at what they are. And you're looking at things like your cost per click. What is Facebook charging me every time somebody clicks on my ad? If it's a high cost per click, well, very few people are going to be able to click on your ad. Therefore, they're not going to be able to leave their info, right? So we want to make sure that that's low. Then we look at how much have you spent on the ad versus how many people have left their info, right? So your cost per lead, and then we break it even down. What did it cost to acquire an email? And so you compare those metrics between the three ads in a 24-hour period, and you go, okay, well, which one's performing the best? Well, hey, this one's getting me $3 emails, and this ad here is getting me $9 emails. Well, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn off the loser, keep that winner because it's getting me 3 times as many leads for the exact same budget. So the same ad spend is getting me 3 times as much. And we want to make sure that you maximize that ad spend, because at the end of the day, Facebook's going to take your money. They really don't care how many leads you get, right? So they're not into that business. They're there to sell ads.
Yeah. A common mistake, I would say, is that people launch a Facebook ad and they sit on it for a week hoping it's going to get better. Facebook's done all their calculations in that first 24 hours, and they've used the first 500 people that have seen your ad to make a judgment call on it. So this is the question they're asking themselves. Does your ad look like an ad and feel like an ad? And is it obtrusive and obnoxious and going to distract people from being on Facebook? Because if you ever clicked on a blog post and you went to go read it and had so many ads littered through it, you just gave up. You were like, I'm not even going to read this. I was interested, but I can't even see the actual content. Facebook doesn't want their news feed like that. So that's how they kind of test your ad. And if they see that initial audience that they picked scrolled right past your ad and nobody clicked, nobody bit, nobody cared, they assume it looked like an ad and felt like an ad, and they're not going to treat you favorably. And also, if only 2 people click, that's how they're designating who they're going to go after next. So do you want them going after 2 people that left you no info for the rest of the week, and they're going to find more people to leave you no info, and you'll get a credit card bill from Facebook at the end of the week with a bunch of people who clicked but left you no info? Or do you want them chasing like the 10 people, 9 of which actually left you an address, and another 4 of them left you some emails, and some of them left you a phone number? You want them to use that batch in that first 24 hours to go and find the next audience and the next people you're going to meet. So by leaving that ad on, you're basically saying, Facebook, this ad, this audience, they're interactive. They're what I'm looking for. Go find more people like that. And that's what they do after that 24 hours, because they've determined that your ad looked like it belonged in my feed because I clicked on it. People interacted with it. They didn't scroll past it. And that's how they keep both people happy. The advertiser ends up getting some good leads coming in, but the user still feels like they want to stay glued to Facebook for 4 hours looking for another funny cat video. So that's the key, is understanding their goal and our goal together. And when you hit that magic, that ad then lasts. That's the key too, is like you can keep that ad running for a while. I was talking to a guy yesterday and he said, Ira, I've wasted so much money on Facebook ads by that one thing you just told me. He goes, he would get a good Facebook ad and then he would crank the budget up to $100 on it. And what Facebook does is they assume you're not happy when you crank the budget quickly, and they wipe that audience clean. So then they start the split test over again. So he said the ad would be like, whoom, and he goes, and then I would all of a sudden throw a ton of money on it to get more leads, and then it would tank. And it was because it was setting that audience clean. So that's once you know that, it can change everything when it comes to Facebook advertising.
So let me ask you this real quick, Ira. So let's say I was spending $9 a day the first 24 hours, so that's $27. Do you suggest that we go down to $9 for the rest of whatever the original budget was? Or do you suggest maybe we take and say, okay, we're not going to spend 27, we're going to spend 18? Or what is the suggestion so that we make sure that we're not doing what this guy did. He was trying to do the right thing. He's like, it works. Let me,
Yeah.
but in the end, it ended up screwing himself over, not intentionally, I'm sure. So what do we do?
Well, the funny part of the next part of the conversation I had with him is I said, so when you cranked it up to 100, you got a ton of leads, but how was your follow-up with them? And he goes, I admittedly am addicted to hoarding leads. He's like, I get all the leads and I just stick them in stuff. And he goes, but I'm horrible. He goes, I really have to work on follow-up. I said, great, we can scale your leads coming in by slowly increasing your budget on that one working ad, because that's going to maximize your spend. But please don't do that until you have a process in place to follow up with these leads. We can get addicted to like almost the gambling on Facebook and landing on good ads. It's like, I got this cost per click and I got this many leads coming in. Well, we know people in our community that got like 1/4 of the leads that someone else did, but they've converted 20 of them because their focus is on the follow-up, not on generating the lead. So once you find, like, I have some people that we have to turn their budget down because they're just not ready to do the follow-up. So we slowly take their budget down. They get their automations and how they're going to follow up with in pace. They start feeling comfortable and confident responding in a timely manner. And now they scale their ad up a bit and increase the budget because now they're ready to handle the lead flow.
Yeah, no, I love that. You got to remember why you're running ads. It's not to create just a huge database, because to have it, that's not the purpose of it. The reason we're running ads is to convert leads and to get listings. And so that's a really funny story. I can understand the addiction to it, though. It's like, oh, look, I did this, and I tweaked this, and I got this, and that's great. But remember, unless you are the lead manager and someone else is following up, your job is to follow up with those people and try to nurture them and make them leads. Because again, I'm not saying that you might not get a StreetText lead that's ready to sell their house tomorrow. That can happen. But realistically, we're talking about 6, 12, 18-month leads. And again, when's the time to start? The time to start is right now, because if leads take 6 months to mature, don't be the person who's going, man, I should have started StreetText 6 months ago. So understand that that's what that is. And here's another thing, and I think is a great idea of talking to people who've used StreetText. Use your timer on your phone. Unless you've got someone else who's managing this for you, if you're the person who's going out there, set an alarm. If you're running the ad at 2 o'clock this afternoon, set an alarm for 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Why? We're real estate agents. If there's one thing we're not good at, is sticking to a schedule. So set a reminder for yourself, literally make an alarm go off that says StreetText. So you go in there and test it, because none of this stuff works if you don't have process. And that's one of the things that I heard Ira say right there. It's great to generate leads. We all want more leads, but at the end of the day, too many leads is just as bad as not enough.
Yeah. And just a funny story. The other day I had someone 2 weeks ago, she set up a trial. She went to her cottage. And as she was at her cottage, she goes, I started getting these pings on my phone. Like, people were responding to the ad. I wasn't expecting that. And she goes, and I started a conversation with a lead and it ended up getting a listing. And I always say this to people: if you get a listing in the trial period during StreetText, I mean, we're applauding you and we're like, that's awesome. Love it. But it might set you up to fail, because now your assumption is that every lead that didn't come in, like that lead on Facebook, is not a good lead. And therefore you don't develop a process and time blocking to work on your future deals. Like, we had somebody report the other day, they got $1 million listing from an address only lead, and they had sent them 4 mailers through the course of a year. It was mailer number 4 that they finally called the person on. But it was that follow-up across the year that got them that lead. It wasn't that initial quick conversation that we all love. I mean, wouldn't it be awesome if we got into real estate, we set up a Facebook ad and had 6 listings next week from it? I mean, we wouldn't all be coming to webinars like this. We'd be out there just listing houses everywhere.
I know that's what I would do. I mean, that's where the money's at, is ultimate. But any guys, if you're writing notes down, fortune's in the follow-up. And that is one of the number one things that I'm hearing. Just a simple way to break that down. You have to have a nurture plan. So we've got about 8 or 9 minutes left here. Would you guys like to talk about what follow-up plans look for, or, where would you guys like to go with this? Because I want to make sure that we're covering everything that we've got here today.
We're both giving each other space.
Yeah. Well, I do want to bring it back to a little bit of the topic here, where we're talking about, generating sellers, seller leads during a low inventory, market right now. Now, the thing is, we also touched on it, that this is a long-term kind of plan, right? There are going to be those people that are ready immediately. So if you think you can turn on some ads and immediately have, like, oh my gosh, we need sellers because, the inventory is low. So I got to run some ads and get some sellers. Well, I'll tell you what, the smart agents are the ones that started 6 months ago, a year ago. They're the ones that even last year, last March, when suddenly this COVID arrives on the scene and some people, slunk back there. I'm just going to wait this out. I'm just going to see what's going to happen. And some of them just want, this is the time to double down. I'm going to start generating leads because I don't know what's going to happen. Right. We don't, and we still don't, 8 months from now, we have no clue what the market's going to look like. Right. Like, we really don't. We know what it looks like right now. But if I start generating leads and I start building on relationships now, no matter what the market is going to do in the next couple of months, the next year, the next even 2 years, I'm going to have people that I have a relationship, and wherever they're at in their journey is where they're going to be ready. So if they're a seller that's ready to sell and they're looking at the market right now and going, this is an opportunity, that's great. Maybe they're actually a buyer, right? Maybe they're not ready and they're kind of scoping the whole thing. Well, they're looking, well, now's not the best time to buy. So I'm going to wait back. Well, guess what? Maybe the market swings the other way. And guess who's going to be calling you, right? They're going, I think this is a perfect time to buy in. Let's take a look at what we got, right? So that is, when you look at it, it's like right now is the best time to generate leads, to build your business over the next year, over the next 2 years, if you have that long term, and that's where it's going to start, right?
Yeah. And remember, the people that have the listings control the market, right? And so you're not going to snap your fingers and control the market today. It's going to take time. But if you look at the best real estate agents across the country, they didn't wake up on Monday, on Tuesday, have the control of the market. They built this up over time, and that's what this is about. So Ira, good job.
Yeah, no, I think we were talking about it this morning on our mastermind, and it's been a topic that's been going around in our community for about the last week strongly, about the idea that the automations are great. The automations are meant to really just do work when you're working other things, sending text messages out to see who's ready to have a conversation now. So you could be attentive to those who are ready to talk now, the ones that are at the top of the funnel, like the bottom of the funnel, are ready to go. Those are what automations are for. But sometimes we get so reliant on our automations that we forget that the personal touches we do now to deliver on this value are what's going to cement us in someone's brain for when they're ready 8 months from now. And it happens if you're working with buyers right now, you're so crazy busy, you're running off your feet. So I mean, Jennifer Salter, one of our users, she shared some awesome stuff in one of the courses she built out, where she said, I dedicate X amount of hours a week that I always get done, where I do personalized follow-up with my StreetText leads. And without fail, I do it every week. No matter how busy I am, I have this hour and this hour. And she goes, sometimes they switch days, but I always check them off as being done. And those are her future deals. Those are the ones that are coming up in the future. So I think during this crazy time where you're busy and people are, if you're in that busy phase, it's important to have your backup plan for those lulls. And those listings come by putting your funnel together before the person does the Google search, and by setting aside some time in your week to step outside your automations, to make it personal, to do that extra little bit that's going to make you stand out from the 15 mailers that I got in my mailbox in the last month and a half. I keep joking, even my kids, we go to the mailbox now and I open the mail and they go, another one. They've even noticed because I keep saying another one. And the only ones I've noticed are the ones that have repeated, the ones that I got a second time or a third time. I can't tell you who any of the other agents are, or the ones that were working with us at StreetText. I'm like, oh, I know that person.
Well, and you made a really good point, Ira. This is, I think, a lot of people do with leads. And, I run a big team and I watch some of my agents do that. Well, I called them once and I threw them in the pond. Well, that doesn't work. And, what Ira just said is and listen to that. And this is what he said. The agents who are consistent over time are the ones that I remember. So he's getting 15 of these a month. He eliminated 12 of them right off the top. And, he's, I'm not going to work with these guys. They only sent it to me once. They haven't followed up. They're basically just throwing stuff up against the wall and seeing what sticks. Consistency, whatever you're doing, you're going to have to be consistent. And this is from a guy who's just saying, look, I can tell you right now, I don't think you're in market to sell your house from our conversation earlier. But if you were, my guess is you would pick from one of those 3 agents who have done it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Why? Because how you do anything is how you do everything, right? They're going to do the same thing with the buyers that call. They're going to follow up with those buyers to make sure they go see his house. We're teaching people how we are by how we market.
100%.
I saw that real estate agent the night before. I went for a run, and around the same time, he was knocking on people's doors. And so he came back the next night and he did the next street. And I'm like, here they're heavily they're canvassing our area because the houses are just getting picked off as soon as they go on the market. But here he had a plan, he had a time block. He was doing it the next night and hitting those streets. So it's the ones with the plans and the ones that follow through on the plans are the ones that are going to dominate. We always say it's not about your next deal. It's about the habits that are going to build your career. So we're about pulling our community together to powwow on those things that are bringing us that extra 1% more and then another percent more. And we're slowly upping our game and layering our status so that over time we learn the skills that, build people's careers and change them. And that's what we love here, seeing someone that came in kind of brand new. And a year and a half later, they're now mentoring someone else who's brand new because they've layered their lessons that they've learned in all of our masterminds and everything we've done and changed their careers. That's what excites us.
Yeah. And I want to say this, if anybody, we've talked about a whole bunch of stuff. We've talked about automated follow-up. We've talked about knocking on doors. We've talked about pizza. We've talked about a bunch of stuff. So if you're watching this and you're like, I have no idea what to do, let me, and again, I don't work for StreetText. I'm just here hosting the webinar. But let me tell you this, one of the things that I loved about them is they assigned me a coach, right? So when you screw up, and you will, they're going to tell you what you did wrong. When you don't know what to do next, get on a call with your coach. And that's one of the things for the limited cost of the product, for them to provide you a coach who you can call up and say, hey, I don't know what's going wrong. Great. Let me get on your schedule a 15, 30-minute Zoom call, and we'll get you straightened out. I think that's one of the biggest value adds of your company. Obviously, it's easy to run ads, but again, like we said, the guy who's collecting leads, what is he going to do with them? Well, I got a pile of leads. So you guys have a coach and you get a coach just by signing up for your product, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you call your coach your guide to teach you how to fish. We want to teach you how to fish from the collective community of what's been working and get you connected to all the resources that we're constantly building.
Yeah. And then the mastermind group, you'll see videos like the Christmas video. You'll see, hey, I did this and it worked. And, one of the big things I'm a big fan of is rip off and deploy, right? Why reinvent the wheel? I invented a whole bunch of wheels and found out they already existed. Why do that? Why not just go in, steal stuff from everybody else? And it doesn't mean you can't have some of your own creative stuff, but build the framework out, and these guys will help you do that. So if you haven't seen it, there is a link in the chat to how to get a 7-day free trial. And that 7-day free trial, apparently people have literally converted $1 million leads. We're not promising that, but apparently they have just during that 7-day trial. And it's a very simple product. And once you use it, I'd be surprised if you didn't want to continue to use it, because it's relatively inexpensive, simple to use. And that's the thing. If you're a brand new agent going, where am I going to spend my $300 a month? I don't even know what the exact price is, but wherever I'm going to spend this limited amount of money, this might be the easiest, simplest way for you to go ahead and do that. So anyway, we've got 2 minutes left. I'd just love to hear final thoughts from you guys, and appreciate doing the webinar with you today.
Well, I'd say a final thought from myself. If you're looking to do StreetText, you want to come in and do the trial, get plugged in. Connect with your coach, connect with our community. Most importantly, from my position here within the company, I kind of watch a lot of what's going on, and the people that have the most success are the people that plug in 100% of the time. They are the ones that are attending our masterminds. They are the ones that are contributing into the insider group on Facebook. They're the ones that are seeing what others are doing and implementing themselves, and then sharing even their results, because they're learning from a community that actually wants to see you thrive and win together. They're not competing against each other. Where somebody's not sitting there going, I have these cards and I'm not going to share them. They're going, hey, you know what? And it's exciting because the mastermind comes, they're like, somebody gets all excited. They're like, I have a win. I had a win. And I went out and did this and this and this. And everybody's like, you did what? Oh, I'm going to go do that. So get plugged in, because I think you're going to, more importantly, like a lot of people will ask me, you know, what makes you different from everybody else? And I'm like, okay, well, we can compare this and this and this. And I will 100% say community. That is what defines it.
All right, last words.
I'll second that. You know, it's really about, sometimes you can feel like you're a lone island in this industry, and it's really important to gather around with like-minded people. Our trial experience, we do just as we teach you to do, which is we want to show you value. We want to find out if this is a fit for you. So use us and work with us. We're not going to push you over the line and hard sell you. Like, in fact, I've talked people out of it. I'm like, you're a brand new agent. You don't have a single deal under your belt. You told me you have X amount of marketing dollars. Don't spend it on us. All your communication is going to be desperate. You're going to be like, I need you to list because I need to pay for my marketing by the end of this month. And it's going to come off as that. So just come use us, compare us to what you're doing in terms of results, so that you can see how it measures against it, and then get plugged into our classes, use your coach, and make sure you fully understand how to get the best use of it. Though it pains me sometimes that people just try to keep their distance and figure it out on their own. And I'm like, I could save you money and time. Like, just book in with me. And then by the end of the 7 days, you'll say I'm in or I'm out, and I'm fine with both answers.
And that's great. You know, and again, think about that. How many times are you going to get a free trial? And in 7 days, you're going to get coached on how to follow up, how to do all the rest of this stuff. So and I agree with you, Roy, you said that community is the number one thing here, and you guys have a great product, but there's a million great products out there. What you're offering is that coaching and the community and that collaboration. You know, it's an abundance mindset, and I can't fathom that if you follow what these guys do, that you can have success and work great with this product. So thank you guys, everybody, for being on here today. Remember, in the chat, if you want to get the free trial, it is streettext.com/trial. It's in there. It'll be on the replay of the video if you need it. But this is a great opportunity to get, worst case scenario, you get some free coaching and learn how to be a better person who does follow up, right? So thanks again, guys, and appreciate everybody. And thanks, LabCoatAgents, for chiming in today.
See you later.
Thank you.